Let's go. Welcome to the main event. Applying pressure, but I promise I ain't make it then. In their heads, living free, I ain't paying rent. Wake up in the AM, making G's like Mercedes-Benz. Whoa, yeah, please don't take it.
Welcome to the Pinnacle Wellness Podcast. Here with Maliko Kamaka. How you doing, bro?
Doing great.
Dude, you are absolutely crushing it right now. So what did you do? I just want to talk about the last 2 months. Like 2 months ago, you wrote what in private health?
425 in 1 month.
And then how much in life?
I think 28, something like that.
And then last month?
Similar numbers. I don't track my numbers as I should, but I think 30 something. And then about another 25 in life, I would say.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Dude, so I really want people to kind of get to know you because you're writing a ton of insurance. I don't think anyone's confused. Do a little bit of a dive if you want to know what he got paid. It was a lot on that. And so give us your background. How'd you get into sales? How'd you get into insurance? And how'd you wind up here at Pinnacle?
Yeah, I'll give you the rundown. So I'm, 23 years old, so I'm very young. I did not go to college. I became a realtor in high school. My senior year, I got my real estate license in Buffalo, and I did that for about 2.5 years. And then I ended up selling gym memberships at LA Fitness. I was a GM there for a little bit as well.
Okay.
And then I ended up getting a call from a buddy to come work at a insurance agency in Tampa. Mm-hmm. And
captive, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I went to a captive agency in 2023. I did about 2.5 years there. And then, I realized that, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff happening in captive agencies and very limited for what you really could do without having politics involved, stuff like that. So I ended up reaching out to some buddies that were on captive space, and I was watching them work less hours than me and make probably 4 times net profit than I was, and they did half my numbers over there. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, something's not making sense. So I ended up, kind of educating myself on the broker, the uncaptive world versus captive, and made that jump, in January of this year, and, not looking back now.
Well, dude, it's clear to me that you've had the entrepreneurial mindset kind of your whole life. So you kind of got right into real estate and then direct sales, doing gym memberships, right into insurance. Is that something that kind of came from your family? Like the entrepreneurial mindset, where did that come from in you? Or just kind of happened naturally, just like from one thing to the next?
Yeah, not having money is a very young kid is what motivates me. So I'm very money motivated. Mm-hmm. I think single mom. I grew up with a single mom for the first half of my childhood. My biological father was in and out of the picture here and there, but he did the best he can. He's a true father to me, so I will always give him props for that. But poor decisions led to him, not being around as much. So, watching my mom go through that, she worked at Walmart, 8, 10-hour days every single day. So we grew up very poor in a sense. And eventually we met my stepdad, currently now, and he moved us to Buffalo, New York. And then I got a little bit of a taste of what, hard work turns into. Mm-hmm. Suburb home, nice school district, all that good stuff too. So I got a little bit of a taste of both worlds. Mm-hmm. And obviously, I would never want my family or myself to ever be indulged in kind of the life that I grew up in. Not saying it's bad. It taught me how to work and how to stay away from that stuff. So that's really what motivates me, and that's my why in life and why my fire can stay lit. But that's my, nothing's going to ever overcome that when it comes to getting up at 5 a.m. and getting to work.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
We just had Kai. I was literally just talking to him, and he gave you some mad props. And he's like, dude, Maliko is one of the hardest workers. Like I know, he truly works 10, 12-hour days. And so, dude, that's cool. And that's what I'm hearing. I wonder what that accent, that's that Buffalo in there, is it?
Yes, I'm Hawaiian, I'm Italian, I'm from Indiana and Buffalo. So,
dude, what a
jumbo
mix.
Yeah.
I could not place your accent, and I didn't want to guess. And now I feel less guilty. We got Hawaiian, Italian, Buffalo all coming together.
Right.
And, dude, that's cool. Dude, so...
Something crazy I'll share too is when I was on my captive agency, there's about probably 10 people that will vouch for me. I used to sleep there about probably 3 to 4 nights a week because my commute was so far, and not having much money when it came down to Florida in 2023. I would work till 1, 2 in the morning, and then I'd be like, well, I gotta be back up at 5 anyways, so I would just sleep at the office 3 to 4 nights a week, and that was crazy to me. But it made the money.
Dude,
Got the bills paid.
that is a really cool, and you share. I don't think you know who Jake Ratterman is, but shout out to him, one of our bigger agencies. Very similar story to
Right.
you as far as like move to Chicago down spot is like, not that we promote sleep at the office, but he did for a little bit. Now one of the biggest agencies, and so I mean clearly that just speaks to your work ethic and your devotion to really making it happen.
Yeah.
So, dude, kind of paint a picture for us. What was it like? I think people see the Maliko now, who's crushing it, and people love to use you as a poster child, rightfully so, because you're writing a ton of business. And I've heard you speak to the clients. You do a great job helping people, really understand what they have, put them in the best situation possible. What did that look like for you at the beginning? Would you say you took to it and you were killing it right off the bat, or was it something that it was kind of a learning curve for you?
A little bit of both. I'm very competitive, so whatever environment I'm going to be put in, I'm going to always try to compete to be the top 3, always. So I didn't really struggle much compared to what I see other people kind of struggle with getting into this industry. But I also, worked mad hours to make sure I didn't struggle like them. Not saying, we all struggled. I have had my ups and downs when I was a rookie and trying to navigate life on top of that, But I would always say if I don't have the time, I got the money, but I don't have the money, so I got to put in overtime every single day, whether it's, personal growth, mental growth, spiritual faith, everything.
Yeah. Well, I think that's you just dropped a great principle right there, which is, and I'll ask you more about new agents developing later, but I think it's clear what your take on that is as far as you came in and you realized, all right, some people are struggling.
Yeah.
You're looking at, like you said, you're competitive. I'm sure you walked in, you could probably tell me now what like the top 3 people in the office were doing because you're like, I want to be like them.
Right.
And you're like, I just got to put in mad overtime.
Right.
Like the only way you really lean on your work ethic. Is that fair to say?
For sure, yeah. Because I didn't have money, so my time had to be sacrificed. That includes overtime. But now I'm at the point where, hey, I did 2 or 3 years of working 100-hour weeks constantly, and now I have a bit more money to make my life a little bit easier. And my mindset came from when I came to the industry, all the top dogs were spending, a lot of money every week into the business. I didn't have that option, but I know if I wanted to play in that kind of sandbox, I gotta have the money. I actually took out a business loan after I felt confident enough to do that. I put myself in probably $50,000, $60,000 in debt, just to play in the same sandbox. But I knew confident deep down, if I had those funds as they did, I could do the same, if not more. So that what's led to my decision to do that to myself, but it worked.
Yeah.
I had the confidence, and I wasn't going to stop until it does.
Yeah. Well, I think a characteristic of many top achieving entrepreneurs is 2 things you've already covered well, which I think is a very strong work ethic, being like, I'm going to work through my problems, and 2, not being scared to invest in yourself.
Right.
And so I'm sure at that point, like you're like 50, 60 grand, that's some debt I'm putting myself in. I'm sure you had a feeling in your stomach there for a little bit, but at that, what point in your career did you do that? How long were you
18 months.
You're about 18 months.
Yeah.
And dude, for people that don't know, and I think this is something that's really important to cover because maybe if Pinnacle is their first shot at insurance and they don't know what the captive world is like and kind of how they compare. Because for me, you might not know this, I actually started in the captive world as well. And I remember thinking like, oh, this place said they were going to give me leads. And, it seemed like it was easy. Yeah, you're laughing. It's laughable. And I was like, okay, this seems like an easier way to start. And a part of me is grateful that I started that way. But clearly, you believe and I believe that the broker space is really superior. Kind of paint a picture for people what the differences of those 2 opportunities look like.
On captive versus captive?
On captive versus broker.
For sure, yeah. So in the captive world, they average like every other company. They market, they recruit themselves as the best ever, as every company should do. So
Sure.
I will always give props to captive agencies. Their recruitment style is unmatched, but you gotta read in between the lines, right? as a new recruit, when I came aboard, I'm getting flash $70,000 checks, weekly checks, stuff, this and that, and they don't stop doing that. In the captive space, typically they hammer all that they can do for you, all that you could make, and what the people do make here. But what people fail to realize is the people's checks that they're flaunting, have been there for 5 years and have probably spent $500,000 to start making that type of money. A brand new recruit would never know that. And when you have a class of 40 people at a time going in and out of that, captive agencies, they don't know what they're into until it's too late. And the one thing that I can definitely say is I've witnessed probably over 100 people, good people, who went into the captive agency, was promised, the moon and the stars, and about 98% of them went into debt, have to spend their savings account, because that's what captive agencies push. You got to spend the money to make the money. And over 100 people have gone into debt and flunked out of insurance, ruined their savings account. And I hate that feeling. I hate it. So on captive side, obviously you don't have a middleman above you controlling you. On the captive side, they pretty much own your book, own where your leads coming from, own your investments, and pretty much everything. They have a very tight grip on it. But the real part is the middleman has to eat, right? So if, for example, you get clients to, that commission goes to the middleman first, and then you. They're going to take out probably half the commission right off the bat. They don't care. But we never know that when we're stuck in that mindset and brainwashed and saying, hey, this is the best opportunity, we make the most amount of money. In the captive space, uncaptive space, we are paid direct to carrier. There's no middleman taking out half our commission. So when it comes to actual check deposits for 24-month active agents, it's a day and night difference, double the income. And also spending less because we're not buying recycle leads that they sell for $30 a lead. And, if you crunch the numbers, here's an example how they recruit people. They say, we'll give you $1,000 a week in lead investment, right? And that sounds like a lot of money to some people, most people. So they say, hey, but the catch is you have to spend $1,000 of your checking account first. You give us $1,000, we'll match that and give you 2,000 leads. These leads that you're buying cost $25, $35, $45, $50 a lead. And I know 50 people I can call right now and say that's how much I pay for leads. So when you're gonna tell me you match me $1,000, but I gotta pay $50 a lead, when the uncaptive side I pay $3 a lead, $4 a lead, $6 a lead at most.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to match me 15 times to get the same net profit margin I'm getting over here. So if you ever wonder why people's checking accounts disappear when they go to the captive space because they can't get it, they don't have the full support. That's why they're getting sucked into it.
I think that's a good thing to touch on. Is I think people looking at a lot of captive opportunities and broker, where a lot of them both come with an investment. So they're like, okay, I'm paying for leads no matter what.
Right.
But they're like, so is it the same thing? And I think you just kind of highlighted on, like, when you're a broker, you have that freedom to go out and multiple lead sources. Like at Pinnacle, we don't even have per se like a health lead source. It's just independent marketing distributors. Like there are ones that people like to go through, but it's like, as long as it's a compliant lead, you're free to do what you want to do.
Right. And then on the captive side, they only match you in the lead system that they want you buying. And that should raise a lot of red flags, because if you wonder, why won't you match me in elsewhere? Why does it have to be his lead system? It's because they get kickbacks and everything. So think about it. If I have 2,000 agents in my agency, and I go to the lead vendor and say, hey, I'm going to give you 2,000 people that will buy from you, referrals. In order in that, you're going to give me half every lead spin right back into my checking account. Lead vendor will say, of course, you're going to give us 2,000 people constantly buying. That's where all the money's made on the captive space that no one, really realizes. And it's very messed up.
To recruit, bring in people, train, see agents have success.
Right.
What is the experience you feel like someone should have coming into the broker space? Like, if I was brand new starting with you, what is my experience going to be like?
Sales background's typically ideal. It's not needed, though. I think work ethic and coachable. That's really the more important things. Because if you have somebody who doesn't want it, or doesn't want to show up, or doesn't want to listen, it's impossible. It's impossible to put them in the right position or train them, that is. But having a sales background definitely helps. You got to understand, some people, don't understand that we're trying to put them on a better plan, or how health coverage works 101, or life, whatever it is. So the sales background definitely does help. Is it needed? Absolutely not. I'm a firm believer in being coachable and having work ethic at the end of the day, because that's where I came from. I didn't know anything about sales before I started, but I was willing to put in 15 hours a day to learn.
Yeah.
And I think if you want it bad enough, you figure it out. I live by that.
Yeah, 100%. What kind of investment should an agent be looking to make, like coming in?
Every person's different, right? Some people have to pay their rent, their car payment, auto insurance, all that stuff, right? So their answer is going to be a bit different than the gentleman who came from a corporate job, right? Or someone who lives with their parents because they're 20 years old. So I think it's going to be all relatively, comparable to situation to situation. But if you want like a fine line answer, hey, if you want to come over here and make $200,000 in your first year, you're gonna have to probably cough up $1,000 to $2,000 a week, right? But make whatever it is, two to five to 10,000 a month, or even more. I can tell you right now, for my captive agency, after doing that for 3 years, the most I made in a year was 135. And I spent probably about 80,000 in leads alone to make that. So if we really think about it, I didn't make much in my best year.
Right.
And I can sit and confidently say I've spent probably a fraction of that, and I've been able to make, 160, 175, and, we're not even halfway done through this year yet. So
Yeah.
it's all relative perspective, but you got to put some skin in the game. You got to understand most businesses in America fail, right? And every business typically costs a lot of money to start, especially the successful ones. So if you're going to try to sit there and make something big out of nothing, realistically, it's very, very hard to do so. Obviously, having some capital and having some skin in the game is going to let you play in the bigger sandbox that you have to get to anyways.
Yeah. I love the honesty of just I think every agent who's been in this space for a little bit and has found success and seen agents really crush it and then people not do well, like you were sharing earlier, it's like you really start to almost like detest when people try to make this seem like, oh, it's so easy and come in, you're going to guaranteed make this or that. And the reason you detest it is because there's a nugget of truth in it, right? Like, hey, the income potential is real. Like people make phenomenal money, like helping people with insurance. But the idea that you're not going to have to work hard, or it's going to be easy, or it's going to happen right away, like I think it just sets people up with that wrong expectation. And what you just said right there, I think is the real key, is like, hey, when you come in to be a broker, you are truly a business owner. Like do you need to spend money to make money? Yes. But you also own the ground that you're building on.
Right.
Right? Which, I mean, dude, explain a little bit, and I know you've been in the broker space less time, but how advanced commissions work, how the renewals work, because especially when you're doing health, you're building, when you say building a book of business, I think some people are like, well, what does that mean? Explain what that means.
Yeah, so, in this industry, you have the option to be as earned, which means your commissions are paid per month that your policy is on there, or they offer a 9-month advanced commission check. So when you see people able to make $10,000, $15,000 a week, it's because they're putting in a high volume of business, helping a lot of people, and they have advances. When you see people in this industry who make a consistent $85,000 a month on the first of each month, is because they have everything as earned. And that's the ideal, right? You got to imagine, think of an abundance. It helped me change my mindset coming over here. Is, let's say you imagine yourself making $50,000 every month, right? You took 4 years to get to that point. Imagine how much easier life is when you make $50,000 on the first of each month, right?
Yeah.
I know how much goes to my expenses. I know how much goes to my savings. I know how much I can spend on me and my family to splurge a little bit. All of a sudden, I'm happy to come to work, right? I don't care what happens this week. I care about doing the right thing. Care about doing the right thing by the client, because my bills are paid. I don't sit there and need to scum people out of insurance policies and play that slimy game that people do in captive agencies, because why jeopardize myself and the life I have for one policy? It's never worth it, ever. So I think the end goal should always be having a nice monthly as earned residual income for yourself. That way you know how to grow. Because again, let's say I have business expenses of $25,000 a month, but I make 50 a month. I'm good. I can only focus on growing and the internal stuff instead of stressing myself saying, well, I hope I make 10K this month. I hope I make 15K, but I want to build at the same time. It's going to cost 20,000 a month still. I have to make $20,000 this month. And all of a sudden you're all over the place and stressed, and if you don't meet your goal, it's going to suck. If
Yeah.
you do, great, but you're on the wave of highs and lows, which is a real thing in this industry.
Yeah.
There's always going to be highs and lows, always.
Yeah.
Always. So I'm a firm advocate of being as earned and building a monthly, and that's the beautiful thing about health policies is the monthlies build quick. And I tell in my trainings, I say this, I go, hey, think in abundance, right? If I'm making 50K a month right now and I get some bonehead on the phone who's going to give me a hard time or doesn't want to take my advice, he wants to do the cheap route, stuff like that, I don't care. My bills are paid. So I got an appointment in 10 minutes, I got someone else to help out, talk to me when you're ready, versus being in the world where you have to get checks every week to pay your bills. You're going to try to force close somebody and piss them off or do the wrong thing because you need your car to be paid at the end of the month. It's a completely different mindset. And that's what's taken me to, making 8 to 10K a month to making 30, 40, 50 a month.
Yeah, yeah. It's so funny. You're taking me back. I'd probably been in the broker space as a life agent. Hadn't really explored health yet.
Yeah.
And right when I had gotten in, I was like, oh, I need to buy health insurance. And so just through my network, there's a woman locally here who I bought my policy from, and I would communicate with her once in a while. She'd do like checkups on me. And probably about a year in, and I was doing well on life insurance.
Right.
And I was like, well, what do you make? And she was like 7-8 years in at that point. She'd been doing it for a while. And I noticed we'd met in person. She'd come to our office because she was local. And she's like, oh, you guys are doing great. And look, she has a nice car and she like has some nice jewelry on. And I was like, what are you? I was like, hey, can I ask you a personal question? And I'll answer the same if you want to ask. She's like, sure. We were friends at this point. Right. I'm like, what do you make? And she's like, well, I've been building my book of business for a while. And she blew me away with what she told me. It was well over $500,000 a year. And I was like, how much are you working? She's like, well, my first few years I worked all the time. Yeah. 80-hour weeks. She's but the last few years, she's like, I work during open enrollment and during this time, and I have an employee that answers my client questions. And she didn't have a team. It was just her. Right. And she just sold at a high clip for a long time. And I was like, and she's like, yeah, I'm starting a family and I just got married. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. It is. To see what you can do in this space. And she loved what she did. And she was a great agent. I remember she helped me, helped my mom, helped I referred her business because she did such a great job. Right. So when I have people that were kind of entering the 1099 space, they're like, hey, we need health insurance. I would refer them to her. And she was phenomenal. And I was like, man. I was like, there's something to that. There is. And that kind of opened my eyes to the private health space.
Yes, and health is definitely a need. I never sold life before ever until I came to Pinnacle, and now I assist with it now. But what I can definitely, and I firmly believe in, is health is a need, right? People actually use health every single year, especially if they buy it. They're going to use it. They're going to get their blood work done, their doctor visit done. But obviously, we all have insurance for the what-if situations, right? Right. Accidents, cancers, the big stuff that can put families down completely. So, in my opinion, though, I think health is a very, very solid route to go because it's recession-proof, right? And there's a lot of potential to get into that and build a residual income. So, everybody always wants it. Everybody always needs it. Is it a hot topic to talk about sometimes? Absolutely not. People don't want to sit there and spend $500 a month when they're healthy, but sometimes they have to. Some states make you have health insurance. But in this world, Obamacare destroys people with the premium. So when they come to us on the private side, if you're healthy, well, you could probably pay half of what you paid now and get better quality coverage. Yeah. So that thing always being a need, it makes it a lot easier to assist people because most of my calls, they call me and say, Maliko, I'm 29 years old. I'm paying $800 a month for my Obamacare because I choose to work hard in life and make $80,000 a year. That's not fair to him, right? So we can go in and say, okay, well, let's look at public options, look at private. Private options cost $350 a month for like top end coverage. Obamacare is going to charge him $800 a month for a PPO because he works hard in life. He pays for the rest of the country who doesn't want to work in life. So getting people like that constantly, you're a system. I give them 8 options. You pick whatever you want to pick. I don't care what you pick. I want you to pick what you can afford and what's going to take care of you. Here are my options. You don't got to take them. We can go on the cheap route and you can deal with problems, but don't call me. I tell all my clients that.
Yeah.
You can ask almost all my book. I'm pretty blunt on the phone, and I even tell them, hey, if you take the cheap route, don't call me. I promise you, I know insurance. I know how insurance, and I really tell people, insurance companies are greedy. All of them are. We all know that, but they take care of you when you need to, as long as you do the right thing. If you hear the horror stories of people getting claims declined, stuff like that, it's because there was malpractice, right? Someone lied at some point saying, hey, I don't have cancer, and they get the health plan, and they go try to get chemo 2 months later. Of course, all your claims will be declined because you lied, or the agent that represented you lied as well. So point is behind that, though, is health is, I think it's a beautiful thing to sit there and save people tens of thousands of dollars a year. They send me people left and right for helping them. That's all I ask for my clients, to say, I helped you and you agree with what I discussed today and did for you. Send me some people. They always send people.
Yeah.
Typically, everybody middle class and up always knows somebody who's getting destroyed by health coverage. Always.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very easy to replicate and always have business coming in. And I help them. They chose to have it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think you're right. It's one of those things. It's like for a lot of folks outside of their mortgage,
Right.
probably their biggest bill many times is what they're paying for healthcare.
Yeah.
And I love the honesty too, dude. And my agent did the same for me. There's one of the things I was like, I love this lady, because she hit me right away. She's like, Gabe, because at the time I didn't have anything. I was coming out of college. I'd been like an intern, so I had like a health plan. And she's like, I'm going to show you a few things, and I'm going to be very honest and transparent with you. There's going to be cheaper options and more expensive. She's like, depending on the level of coverage that you want, you might initially like the smaller sticker price of something else, but it's probably going to be worth your time. Like, let's talk about it, like what you want, because if you want to go to the hospital, you want to be covered.
Right.
And so I always really appreciated that, because I'm sure there's agents out there who probably not nefarious in the moment. They just like, oh, it's easy to save people money.
Right.
And just show them the cheapest option. But if that's not what's best for them, then you're not doing right by that client. Exactly. And you're also, if you think about it, it's like, hey, the agent gets paid based off what they're selling too. So it's like, I want to get paid, but I want to help this client to the highest level of my ability.
Exactly. And if you do the wrong thing, like say in the catheter space, it happens all the time. People, they mislead clients all the time to get the sale. And that's what I did not want to be a part of either. Because you got to understand, if I tell a family, because my company told me to, hey, all this will be covered, don't even worry about it, right? But they'll get an ER bill and they owe $7,000. You have to handle that call. When they call you and say, hello, you told me that this was my worst case scenario, when really I got to do all this extra stuff and pay half the bill myself anyways, you have to take that call. And no one's going to last in any industry if you sit there and lie to people and kind of set yourself up for, those conversations. You'll never last.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell all my clients up front, I'm blunt, I'm honest, whatever you want to know, I'm going to tell you whether you like it or not. But that way, if anything does happen, we explain this to you. I explained to you the 200-month policy versus the 700-month policy. So most, knock on wood, I haven't ever gotten a call that said, hey, Maliko, you lied to me. This is what I thought I had. Turns out it has it. And they got screwed over a $10K bill. Never happened. But I've seen it happen in the catheter space all the time. And that's what being in Pinnacle and kind of building, you own your book, you own your agency, right? And that's the beautiful thing about Pinnacle. You don't want to have that practice. No one does. And all it is going to set us up for a lawsuit or hate your life, and you're just chasing weekly checks every single week to try to keep up with yourself. It's not a good life. And that's why most agents do flunk out, right? They get desperate. They try not just to close a deal just for the profit. But like Pinnacle is saying, people over profit, it's true. Because people will generate you more income than a carrier will.
Yeah.
Right. You gotta understand, if I save somebody $10,000 a year, he's gonna send me everybody he knows.
Right.
And I'm gonna, make X amount off of 10 policies he sent me, instead of me trying to get him on a cheap, quick sale policy, grab a commission off of him, and then he realizes, hey, this policy sucks. I'm never using you again. And those 10 people I sent you, I'm gonna let them know what kind of policies you sell and what you do. and now there goes that
Yeah.
that net network you had.
Well, yeah, you're right. I've been on the client end of that. Luckily, I didn't have a bad experience,
Right.
but my agent did a great job. And I mean, dude, I don't know how many people I sent her because I sent her so many agents that like needed, I probably sent her 30, 40 people like over like a couple year span. Just because I was like, hey, she did a great job by me. And same thing. I don't have one person who was like, oh, they gave us a bad policy, and I had, people who had babies and all this stuff, and like, oh, it was covered, just like she said. And so, yeah, that client forward approach, I think, is always the way that every agent should be.
Right.
And to your point, like I said, I came from the captive space on the life side too. I think that also goes into opportunity because we didn't really have leads. They said we did, but it really wasn't.
Right.
And I would see agents get kind of desperate. And again, I said I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say it wasn't nefarious, but they were like, hey, I don't have a lot of opportunity. I'm trying to make as big of a sale as I can. But regardless of whether or not the motive was nefarious or not, like you can't do that. And
Right.
I think that just speaks to the opportunity. Dude, you said something earlier. I want to go back on this because I think you're doing something that even within Pinnacle that not enough agents have figured out yet. I think it's starting to shift.
Yeah.
Is that you figured out the life cross sale. And because I see so many people who focus on the health and they do a great job by clients, but they're missing two things. One, they're missing a phenomenal way to help that client. And you were making a comment to me the other day, like, oh, I just figured out this product. Clients love it. Talking about like IULs and different types of policies.
Yeah, for sure.
And also a very healthy commission for themselves. So talk about kind of what made that click
For
in
sure,
your
yeah.
mind and what that looks like for you and your clients.
So when I came over to Pinnacle in January, I went under Kyle Sanos. I've known him for 3 years. He's an awesome individual. He's
Yeah, he is.
funny. I laugh my ass off with that kid. But he's also a very hard worker, and that's why I look up to him in a sense, saying, hey, this kid, if I ask him to, he'll sit 12 hours with me. I might have to push him a little bit to work my crazy hours, but he'll do it. And that's what I respect out of Kyle. So when Kyle, when I came in and met Kyle, we were kind of, he was teaching me the life side and the health side of insurance. And he was kind of doing both avenues separately. So I'm sitting there, as I'm learning the life products, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, well, the health products, they give living benefits, right? Why don't we sell the life insurance policy that gives them triple the benefit? And we're sitting there and I'm thinking about word plays and is this something that people can really benefit from before I start trying to mix match policies? And all the numbers said yes, it does. So for example, let's say a client of mine chooses United Healthcare. United Healthcare will only give $80,000 for living benefits and critical illnesses, right? Heart attack, cancer, stroke, the big stuff that we worry about as healthy people. So if you got to do the numbers real quick, $80,000 won't do much for you. It's going to help cover the initial hospital cost and, alleviate the damage. Health insurance, like, we saw in the training the other day, mitigates damage, while life insurance and living benefit packages, supplement packages, will carry you through those tough times and take care of you and your family and your bills. So when I sat there one night, it was probably like 9 o'clock in Kyle's apartment, I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, well, Mutual's going to offer this 29-year-old $250,000 of living benefits, right? $250,000 almost. 80% of the entire life insurance policy he can use if he needs it, which is the big stuff, more strict. So if you ever wonder why it's triple the coverage plus, it's because they're more strict.
Sure.
We talk to healthy people all the time. So I'm going to sit there and say, well, why would I give this kid $100,000, right? If something bad happens and that's it, on top of his actual health coverage, of course. Why don't we just do a MU policy, mutual Vermont policy with $250,000? He loved it. I loved it. It's a win-win for everybody. Because as I tell my agents, as long as you explain products thoroughly and correctly, the client will always pick a supplement package if they're healthy enough. If you're selling any type of cheaper end insurance, people in the 20s and 30s want that stuff because they can't afford major medical. And I would never pay major medical either. I tell my clients that I'm like, I'm late 20s. I'm not going to pay health insurance $6,000-$7,000 because I'm healthy, right? I'd rather have the what ifs covered and supplements taken care of. So if I do go down, I got plenty of access to funds where I'm taken care of, and I'm only paying $150 a month for everything instead of me paying $600 a month for full health coverage. So the cross selling definitely stemmed from that night in Kyle's apartment, and once we got the first week of actually testing the waters with clients, and they loved it. There was no turning back after that. They started asking for more living benefits. They're like, it's only $50 for $250,000 if I get approved. Yeah, they're like, can I do $100 a month? And then it just went up from there. So after obviously some months of doing it and presenting to clients and them sharing it with their friends and family, it blew up for us at least, So it's something that I heavily believe in. And I like to tell people, Pinnacle, I don't know anything about life insurance. Never did. I've never spent years in this industry. I've never, actually sat there and tried to learn IULs and whole life policies and terms. Never. But the fact that I can sit here and do X amount a month, imagine what people who do life insurance as a living can do, and it only benefits the client that much more. And I even tell my clients, you can take the living benefits with health carriers if you want to. I don't care. You do what you want to do. You're paying for this policy. But as your agent, if I take your phone call, this is what I recommend. And it's because they give you 250,000 versus 100,000. And one more simple thing is, right, healthcare companies are healthcare. So if you pass away because of an incident, your family's gonna have to fight the health insurance company to go get those living benefits that they're supposed to owe you, and we all know how much of a headache that is. Life insurance, every month premium that you've been paying for is gonna go to your family on top of that too.
Yeah.
So as long as you hit a couple of those points with clients and explain it to them, give them the option, which is what I always do, 99% of the time they're gonna pick what you recommend as the professional broker. This is your space. This is what I do. I take your phone calls. Please listen to me and take my advice. And sometimes I get the older people on the phone that they're so not know-it-alls, but they've been in the same spot coverage-wise for the last 25 years. So it's a bit difficult conversation to have with those people. But like I said, if you break everything down black and white to them, even those folks will sit there and say, "You're right. I never even knew this existed," and you cross-sell them.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, you're so right about that. I think we're leading with the same concept, which is always leading with value
Right.
and being very very transparent and just explaining kind of everything to the client. Because, dude,
Mm-hmm.
even on the life side, so when I came from a captive agency, I didn't know anything about like living benefit policies.
Right.
I didn't know anything about IULs or cash value. And when I learned about those products, it really opened my eyes.
Right.
And I found out, I was like, wait, I was a life agent. I didn't know about these things. Your average layman has no concept. And so just to like explain it thoroughly and be like, I love, actually, I got to say this, because you and Kyle were talking about this on the training call the other day, and I thought this was so powerful. Just a way to think about different types of insurance. Health insurance, the purpose of it is to mitigate your risk, right? Like, so you're not paying nearly as much out of pocket.
Correct.
Like, you're never not going to pay nothing.
Right.
But instead of having a $100,000 bill, well, now I got a $10,000 bill. That's saving me money, but it's not putting money in my pocket.
Right.
We're talking about life insurance, disability plans, where these are actually putting money in my pocket.
Right.
And I shared this story with Kyle. I'll share it with you. We just had a client recently. He was a life agent. Had a client of his call him probably 5-6 months after he sold him a policy, helped cover his mortgage, sent him a GoFundMe because the client had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And he called him and was like, "Is this real?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got diagnosed a month ago, and health coverage is paying for most of it, but there's still some expense for us, which is a lot because I'm not able to work right now because I'm dealing with this illness." And he's like, "Hey, did you make a claim on your policy?" And the client's like, "No." Followed back up a week later, client still had. He's like, "Hey, we got to call." Called the client, called the carrier together. A week later, that client got 60 grand out of the living benefits.
Yeah, that's what people don't realize. And I always wonder, like, we see TikTok and Instagram, social media feeds, it never teaches about this type of stuff, which is why I never learned about it either. And it's like, once you actually see like the back end of commercial side versus government plans and funded plans and Obamacare, there's a lot to learn. Of course, it's not broadcasted to the country like it should be because we know where government wants money towards their items. But yeah, it's crazy. When I learned this, I looked at Kyle, I'm like, dude, why would I ever have this kid pay $45 a month for $80,000 of coverage when he could pay $43 a month for $280,000 coverage.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. I understand, though, you got to be healthy, though. This is only options, of course, for healthy people, right? You can't have type 1 diabetes and stuff like that and getting this type of coverage. No way. But for the people, the healthy and people who work hard, middle class and upper class people, it makes no sense not to give them an offer. And when I tell my team, though, give them the option is because you don't want to, I don't force things to people. As I mentioned to you earlier, I think of abundance, right? It's even you want it or you don't. I'm not going to sit there and make you buy something that you're going to call my phone 5 times a year and give me complaints. I don't want to deal with that. Some people do. I don't judge them, but, I give them the option because when the time does come that you're paying for the policy, I wanted you to choose it. I wanted you to learn about living benefits, life insurance, annuities, and health insurance. And after I gave you kind of a good course of education that maybe you didn't know before this call, what do you want to pay? This is your stuff. I want you to keep this policy. I don't care what you pay. I care about doing a good job to you and making sure that I do such a good job that you send me referrals. I'm not going to sit there and max your policy out. I tell all people, all my clients, you don't need to pay $1,500 a month for health insurance. Sometimes they say, well, I want to. Okay, I sign them up. But I tell a lot of people, hey, let's take more of like a medium avenue with some living benefits on top of that. And that way we're saving $4,000 a year in premiums. And it's going to work for you because I've seen it work. And in that case, I get more referrals out of that too. So I'm a big advocate of doing, what's right. And when I started doing that style of being a broker, I saw my business skyrocket completely. And then I stopped chasing deals. I stopped chasing people. It's like once I service myself and branded myself as, hey, I can actually help families who need it. And not all the families, only the families that I can help, focus on that. And it definitely blew up too. And faith definitely played a big role in it too. I'm a big believer in karma. I believe the man upstairs is always going to return what you do to others and tenfold. That's what I truly believe in. So I'm never going to sit there and tell someone, hey, you get all this stuff, because I truly believe if I were to do that and kind of do it in a bad way just for a profit, I'll pay the piper.
Yeah.
Whether it's 10 years, 20 years later. So that's what's really also helped me kind of stay stable and, do the people.
Yeah.
People over profit always.
I love that, dude. I love it. And you're even making me reflect on kind of my own journey, I came from a decade of door-to-door sales, and I was always just very focused on, because before insurance, I had never sold a product that was like life-changing.
Right.
I'm not ashamed of anything that I sold, but it was commodities. It was lawn care, it was cable, it was stuff like that. It was good to have, and people liked it. And then when I got to this, I remember a shift from, obviously, same thought as you. I always wanted to do right by people. But even that shift, I would say with my first year of doing business, from, hey, I'm going in there focused. Yeah, I'm going to help them, but I'm focused on making the sale.
Right.
And then as that grew, I was like, hey, the more I lead with value outside, because I think what I did, and I think, Maliko, a lot of people do this without thinking.
Right.
We probably, because we do it every day, we meet somebody, I'm like, oh, I meet Maliko, and I'm like, I know what's good for him.
Right.
I know what the right thing is. And so I'm leading with the intention to do what's right by you, but I'm not educating. I'm not giving you all the options to make your choice. And so the experience that the client is having with me, even though I'm doing my best to do right by them, they're not feeling that full value.
Right.
And then when I started laying it out, I found out I was having happier customers. And you just said it a second ago. The way I knew I was doing that is people started referring.
Right.
They were like, hey, I had such a great experience with Gabe. They were like, hey, call my brother, call my sister. Hey, my mom's 60. Do you do people for that age? I'm like, yeah, of course.
Right.
Like, I would love to help your family. And that was a great feeling.
It is, yeah.
Because then I was like, man, I already felt good about what I was doing, but now it just hit this extra tier of like, man, like this feels great.
Yeah, and I didn't even believe Pinnacle was true. Like I told Kyle and Ryan Koski, I'm like, I'm still waiting for the catch. Like, it's been 3 months of, a lot easier business flow and more money and happier clients and more products. When's the catch coming? Because that's what, in the captive side, you don't find out the truth until 8 months later, So I could definitely back up on that. Pinnacle's been definitely life-changing and eye-opening, more importantly, though. I learned a lot about life lessons and business lessons coming to Pinnacle after I left being captive. A lot was gatekept for me. And the funny thing is, in the cap agency, they drill you with the saying "brokers are broke." They hammer that. If you ask anybody in one of those big cap agencies, they'll tell you brokers are broke. That's a saying that they brainwash people so they don't look outside the blinders. Because when you do, they're gonna leave, and that's always been happening to people. So
Makes
hence why they do
sense.
that.
Dude, this has been great. I want to end off with this. If people want to get into the space, if maybe they're on the edge, whether or not they're maybe in a captive agency or an inferior opportunity, maybe in some kind of other direct sales, or maybe not at all, they're just looking at the space. What's some advice that you would give to them?
I think leadership is something huge. I think you should consult with someone who you trust to have your best interest. I know in the cap agency, there's a lot of leaders that are just in it for pure profit. They just want to grow a team and make as much money as possible, and that's it. They don't care what happens to cap agents, hence why their turnaround's so high rated over there in captive agencies. So I think you should start by, speaking to someone who has experience in both ends and kind of knows someone that you'll trust to have your best interest, right? Kyle, I knew had my best interest because he knew I was going to come in and outwork as many people as I could and kill it. He wasn't going to stop me, but as good friends, he wanted me to support me to go do that. Sometimes, people like that can uh, set their leaders a little bit off because they fear to be replaced. And Kyle didn't was not like that at all. That's why I loved Kyle. I'm like, he doesn't care. I can go do 80 times the business he does, and he's gonna sit there and clap and cheer me on and help me again how to do more. So leadership is everything. The people above you that are gonna be supporting you and making sure that you have the tools to win and have the right mindset and doing the right thing. That is probably the one of the biggest factors that you can use as an asset when you join this industry. And the first thing it needs to start with is the actual honest conversation. What happens if I join this agency? What am I going to be expecting to do? What am I going to spend? Everything needs to be transparent. And if you can get someone that's going to be in your corner no matter what happens, um, do it.
Yeah.
Join it as soon as possible and start the groundwork now. And I tell my new agents too, I'm like, hey, these next 24 months are going to be it's not going to be what you think it is, right? I know I told you that, eventually what I make and stuff like that, but you fail to realize that, I work 80-hour weeks nonstop for the last 3 years to get to this point. Some people come in and do it in a year. Some people come in and make $500,000, $1 million in their first year of insurance. Some people are gifted. Some people have high-end networks that I didn't have when I was new. So being new, I think it doesn't hurt to try, right? The least you do is break even. That's my personal opinion. If you work your behind off and just follow good leadership, the worst you'll do is break even because your leaders will make sure that happens. They're not going to have you sit there and go into debt, drain your savings account, because that's what their job is to do, to make sure, hey, I want to know your financial situation because I don't want you to come here and go for 40K in debt trying to make something work. I want you to come over here. I want you to learn first. I want you to see the actual platform that we can use. And I want you to grow your business how you want to. You may not want to do as much as I want to do. You may want to do more than I want to do. But whatever you want to do, let's make it clear. I'll let you know if it's possible or not. And that's why I pushed about Kyle. He said, not really possible to make $1 million and spend only 100K. Not possible. You're gonna have to spend probably 400K to make $1 million. Cool. I can respect that, Kyle, because that's the truth.
Yeah.
A lot of people hide that. So it all stems from leadership, honest people, and having a clear path of what your goals are, and just not being crossed and watching your back. I know a buddy of mine gave me this saying: "It's a lot easier to run as far as you can, as fast as you can, when you don't have to look behind you." And that's the same thing with the life too.
I love
Yeah,
I love that, dude. I love the focus on the people that you're working with, because sometimes I think that's the opportunity is important, of course. I
right,
think people hear this conversation, they're not confused hearing you just speak about it. But I think also the people that you're working with, I don't people realize, like, these essentially are going to be your business partners. So
right.
similar values, knowing that this person, hey, has my best interest in mind, like that is huge. So that they, I like to say, know the way and show the way.
Yeah, one bold truth that I did learn in this industry is how you can tell a leader is going to be a leader is they lead from the front, right? They're not someone who's going to sit behind and tell you what to do, and they don't do it on their end or never have. So when you have a leader who can do exactly what they're telling you to do, that's a big green flag in my eyes. So, for example, Ryan, Joe Basso, and you guys, obviously, you guys have done this. You guys have, paid your bills, made it. You have the funds to assist. You're not looking at, people as dollar signs. And that's what a lot of leadership roles are in this industry is they look at their team as dollar signs, right? Because they're trying to grow their business to sell and whatever's going on. So when you have someone who already has success in their life and solid income, they don't need you. What are you gonna make them an extra 5 grand a year? They don't care enough to have you go through ups and downs and just to make an extra 4 grand off you in the year. So people like that who are willing to give because they're not looking at you as a dollar sign. That's very rare and it's unbeatable. And that's why I give my ex leader her name. My ex leader from my last captive agency. I won't say her name, but she's one of those people, my first leader, that was kind of sat there and gave me as much as she did without even thinking about my return. I didn't return her the first year, not even close, and she didn't change one bit about how she treated me, how much she invested in me, and not at all. And I think that's the characteristic that people should be hunting for is people who have done it before, succeeded in it, and already kind of have a stable lifestyle. You
Yeah,
know,
that's beautiful, dude. If people want to work with you, how do they get a hold of you?
just text me, however you want to. If you want it bad enough, you'll find a way. But I have Instagram. I'm all over Pinnacle now, so reach out to me. And
What's the Instagram? What's the number if you're cool sharing it?
yeah, the number is 716-220-4055. And my Instagram is my first and last name, Maliko.Kamaka. That's it.
What's the goal? Personal production. I want to know this because you're off to such a great start. What are you trying to write this year? Health and life.
Yeah, it changes every month. I don't know if that's normal, but I would say probably health, probably minimum of 5 mil, and then life, 400,000. I want to be my personal goal. The competitive nature is to be the first one at Pinnacle to do the double crown, maybe the triple crown. So that's what I go to bed every night thinking about, and I can promise you that. But I'm also have a lot of people who are asking me to help them do what I do. I didn't plan for this to happen, but I have grew a little team quickly, and I have about 8 more people who are already coming over. So it's like, well, now maybe it's not about me. I'm good. Like my bills are paid, as I told you. I worked my butt off for the last 4 years to get to this point. Let me just kind of build a little agency and replicate myself onto them. So personal production, though, I'm gonna do as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
So I think 5 mil and 400K in life and 2 mil in annuities is my goal. May fall short, may exceed it, but as long as I grow in the, maturity wise and mental wise and financial wise, I think it's a blessing and I'm up. So that's all I really care about at the end of the day.
You're on the way, dude. I think you're gonna hit it.
I hope so.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day. Hey, if you're thinking about this, reach out to Maliko. God bless everybody. Have a great one.